Queen Lorelei stood on the highest tower of her crystal palace, watching her world burn. The beautiful city of Zephyros Prime stretched out below her, its towers made of living crystal that had grown for thousands of years. Now those same towers were falling one by one as the enemy machines tore them apart. The sky was full of metal ships that looked like giant insects. They moved in perfect formation, never breaking their lines, never showing fear or doubt. These were the Devourers, and they had come to destroy everything she loved. "Your Majesty, we must leave now," said Commander Thane, her chief guard. His blue skin was pale with worry, and his crystal armor was cracked from the last battle. "The evacuation ships are ready." Lorelei did not move. She could not believe this was happening. For 3,000 years, her people had ruled 12 beautiful worlds. The Zephyrians were a peaceful race who loved art, music, and growing their crystal cities. They had never wanted to fight anyone. Their technology was based on harmony and balance, not war. But the Devourers did not care about peace. They were machines that ate entire planets, turning everything into more machines. They had appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space 6 months ago, and nothing could stop them. "How many ships escaped?" she asked, still looking at the burning city. 200, Your Majesty. Maybe 50,000 people total." Thane's voice was heavy with sadness. "Out of 3 billion. 3 billion. Her people had lived on Zephyros Prime for so long that their roots went deep into the planet's crystal core. Most had refused to leave, even when the Devourers came. They could not imagine life anywhere else. "The other worlds?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Gone, Your Majesty, all of them. We are the last." Lorelei finally turned away from the window. She was tall and graceful, with silver skin that glowed softly in the dim light. Her people said she was the most beautiful queen they had ever had, but beauty meant nothing now. What good was beauty when she could not save her people? The palace shook as another crystal tower fell. The Devourers were getting closer. "The council ships?" she asked. "They left yesterday," Thane said, unable to meet her eyes. "They said the Zephyrian sector was too dangerous. They would not risk their fleets." Of course they would not. The Galactic Council was made up of 12 different alien races, and they all cared more about their own safety than helping others. They had made pretty speeches about friendship and cooperation, but when the Devourers came, they ran away. "We could surrender," suggested General Vex, her military commander. He was old and tired, and had watched his armies die fighting an enemy they could not defeat. "Maybe they would let some of our people live." "No," Lorelei said firmly. "The Devourers do not take prisoners. They only consume." It was true. On every world the machines had taken, they left nothing behind. No people, no buildings, no life at all. Just empty space where planets used to be, and new machines flying away to find more worlds to destroy. The floor shook again, harder this time. Through the crystal walls, they could see the silver ships getting closer. Each ship was the size of a mountain covered in weapons that could crack open moons. "Your Majesty, please," Thane begged. "We have to go." Lorelei nodded slowly. There was nothing left to save here. She followed her guards through the crystal halls where she had played as a child, past the great libraries where the wisdom of ages was stored, past the gardens where her ancestors had sung to make the flowers grow. All of it would be gone soon. The evacuation ship was small and fast, built for escaping, not fighting. As they lifted off from the palace landing pad, Lorelei watched her home disappear behind them. The crystal spires that had taken centuries to grow were being torn down in minutes. "Where are we going?" she asked the pilot. "Sanctuary's Edge, Your Majesty. The old fortress moon. It is the only safe place left." Sanctuary's Edge was very old, built by the first Zephyrian kings as a place to hide during the dark times. It had thick walls and powerful shields, and it was hidden in an asteroid field where enemy ships would have trouble finding it. But Lorelei knew it would not hide them for long. The Devourers always found what they were looking for. The trip took 6 hours. When they arrived, Lorelei saw that the other evacuation ships were already there. 50,000 people, all that remained of a great empire. They looked lost and afraid. crowded into a fortress that was never meant to hold so many. "How long can we last here?" she asked Captain Zara, who commanded the fortress. "Maybe 2 months, Your Majesty. We have food and water, but not much. And if the Devourers find us—" "They will find us," Lirelei said quietly. "They always do." That night she sat alone in the fortress command center, looking at the star maps. Red markers showed where Zephyrian worlds used to be. All red now, all gone. She thought about her father, who had ruled before her. He had always said that a good queen protects her people no matter what. But how could she protect them from an enemy that could not be reasoned with, could not be defeated, could not be stopped? The Galactic Council had abandoned them. Their own military was destroyed. Their worlds were ash. What was left? She pulled up the communication system and looked at the frequencies. There were the normal ones that connected to council space, to trade routes, to friendly planets. But there was another frequency, one that was forbidden, one that led to a small sector of space that the council tried to pretend did not exist. Human space. Lirelei had heard the stories, like everyone else. Humans were a young race that had only reached the stars 100 years ago. But they were dangerous, violent. They fought wars with a cruelty that made even the warrior races uncomfortable. The council had built a wall around human space and told everyone to stay away. Barbarians, the council called them. Savages who will destroy themselves before they become a real threat. But what if that was exactly what she needed? What if barbarians were the only ones crazy enough to fight the Devourers? Lirelei stared at the forbidden frequency for a long time. Her advisors would be horrified. The council would call her a traitor. But her people were dying and no one else would help. What did she have to lose? Outside the fortress walls, space was dark and quiet. But somewhere out there, the Devourers were coming. And somewhere else, in a small section of the galaxy that civilized people avoided, there might be someone willing to fight, even if they were savages. 3 days passed on Sanctuary's edge, and the fear grew stronger with each hour. The refugees huddled in the old fortress halls, whispering about the Devourers and wondering when death would come for them. Queen Lirelei had not slept since they arrived. She spent her time in the command center, staring at the communication console and the forbidden frequency that led to human space. Every time she reached for it, her hand stopped. Once she sent that message, there would be no going back. "Your Majesty," said Elder Corrin, the oldest of her advisors. He was ancient even by Zephyrian standards, with silver skin that was almost transparent. "You look troubled." "I am thinking about our options," she replied, not taking her eyes off the console. "What options?" "We have none. When the Devourers find us, we will die with honor as our ancestors did." "Die with honor," Lirelei repeated. "Is that all we can do? Just sit here and wait for death? What else is there? The council has abandoned us. Our military is gone. We are the last of our people." Lirelei finally turned to face him. "There is one option we have not considered." Corrin's eyes narrowed. He had known her since she was a child, and he could read her expressions. "What are you thinking?" "The humans." The old advisor's face went pale. "Your Majesty, no. You cannot be serious. Why not? They are the only ones who might help us. They are barbarians, violent, unpredictable savages who solve every problem with weapons and death. The council keeps them locked away for good reason. The council also ran away when we needed them," Lirelei said sharply. "Their civilization and politeness did not save us. But the humans, they might be worse than the Devourers. At least the machines kill quickly. Humans torture their enemies. They enjoy war. They could enslave us or worse." Lirelei had heard all the stories. Humans who fought wars that lasted for centuries. Humans who built weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. Humans who would rather die than surrender, and who took their enemies with them into death. The civilized galaxy feared them for good reason. "Maybe," she said, "but maybe they are exactly what we need. Your Majesty, please think about this. If you contact them, word will spread. Every species in the galaxy will know that we called upon the barbarians. We will be outcast forever. Outcasts are better than extinct." Corrin tried a different approach. Even if they wanted to help, they could not reach us in time. "The Devourers will find us within days. Human space is weeks away, even with their fastest ships. Then we will have to hold out longer. How? We have no weapons that can hurt the Devourers. Our shields will not last against their ships. They will break through our defenses like paper. Lyrelai knew he was right. Zephyrian technology was beautiful and elegant, but it was not made for war. Their crystal ships were works of art that could travel between stars, but they had no real weapons. Their shields were designed to protect against space debris, not enemy fire. But what choice did they have? I would rather die fighting with barbarians than die hiding like cowards, she said. Before Corin could argue further, alarms began ringing throughout the fortress. Captain Zara's voice came over the speakers. Your Majesty, please come to the sensor room immediately. Lyrelai ran through the corridors, her heart pounding. When she reached the sensor room, she saw Captain Zara standing over a display screen, her face grim. What is it? Lyrelai asked. Long-range sensors have detected them, Zara said quietly. The Devourer fleet? They are moving through the outer system, scanning every asteroid and moon. How long until they find us? 2 days, maybe 3 if we are lucky. Lyrelai stared at the screen, watching the red dots that represented the enemy ships. There were so many of them, spread out in a perfect search pattern. Each dot was a massive vessel filled with weapons and machines that lived only to destroy. Can we run? She asked. Where would we go? They are faster than our ships and they have scouts throughout the system. If we leave the asteroid field, they will see us immediately. Then we fight. With what? We have civilian ships and a few old defense guns. They have a fleet that destroyed 12 worlds. Lyrelai closed her eyes and made her decision. When she opened them again, her expression was firm. Captain, prepare a message for transmission. Use the emergency frequency. Which emergency frequency, Your Majesty? The one that leads to human space? The command room went silent. Everyone stared at her in shock. Captain Zara's hand hovered over the communication controls, shaking slightly. Your Majesty, Zara whispered. Are you certain? Do it. Zara's fingers moved across the controls. The communication system hummed to life, searching for the forbidden frequency. When it found the signal, a new screen appeared showing the transmission path. It led out of council space past the quarantine zone, into the small section of the galaxy where humans lived. Channel open, Your Majesty. Lyrelai stepped forward to the microphone. For a moment she hesitated. Once she spoke these words, everything would change. Her people would be branded as traitors by the council, but her people were already dying. This is Queen Lyrelai of the Zephyrian Empire, she began, her voice steady despite her fear. We are under attack by the machines called Devourers. Our worlds are gone. Our people are dying. The Galactic Council has abandoned us. We are trapped on Sanctuary's edge in the Zephyros system, and we will be dead within days, she paused, thinking of her father's words about protecting her people no matter what. We know you have no reason to help us. We know our species have never met, but we are desperate and you are our only hope. If any human ship receives this message, please, we are begging for your aid. We will offer anything we have in return. Our technology, our knowledge, our service, anything. Her voice broke slightly on the last words. We do not want to die forgotten and alone. Please, help us. She gestured to Captain Zara, who cut the transmission. The command room remained silent for a long moment. How long until we get a response? Asked Elder Corin, his voice heavy with disapproval. If we get one at all, Zara replied. The message will take 8 hours to reach the edge of human space. Then it depends on whether anyone is listening and whether they care about aliens they have never seen. And even if they do care, Corin added, they could never reach us in time. The Devourers will be here first, Lyrelai nodded. She knew the odds were against them, but she had done everything she could. The message was sent. Now all they could do was wait and hope that somewhere in the darkness someone would hear their call for help. Outside the fortress, the Devourer fleet continued its methodical search. Each hour brought them closer to finding the last survivors of a once great empire. But in the depths of space, racing along invisible pathways of energy and information, a desperate plea for help was traveling toward the one place in the galaxy where such pleas were sometimes answered. Whether the barbarians would come remained to be seen. Captain Sarah Chen was having a bad day even before the alien distress call changed everything. Her ship, the UES Retribution, had been on patrol for 3 months at the edge of human space. It was boring work, watching for any sign that the other galactic powers were planning to invade. The Galactic Council claimed they had quarantined humanity for everyone's safety, but Sarah knew the truth. They were afraid. "Captain," called Lieutenant Rodriguez from the communications station, "I'm picking up something strange. Looks like a transmission from outside Council space." "What kind of transmission?" "Unknown language, but the computer is working on it. Signal is very weak, coming from—" "Holy shit, Captain. It's coming from deep inside Devourer territory." Sarah sat up straight. The Devourers were the galaxy's nightmare, a plague of machines that consumed entire civilizations. Human intelligence had been tracking their movements for months, watching them tear through the outer systems, put it through the translator. The message that came through the speakers made everyone on the bridge stop what they were doing. It was a woman's voice speaking words that were desperate and proud at the same time. A queen begging for help from people she had never met. "Play it again," Sarah ordered. They listened to Queen Lyraleigh's plea 3 more times. When it ended, the bridge was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. "Captain," said Commander Hayes, her first officer, "we should report this to command." "That would take weeks," Sarah replied, studying the star charts. "By the time we get orders, those people will be dead. They're not our people, Captain. And the Devourers. We don't know anything about fighting them." Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the location of the alien signal. It was deep in space that humanity had never entered, surrounded by machines that had destroyed civilizations older than Earth itself. But she had heard something in that alien queen's voice. Desperation, yes, but also courage. This was someone who refused to give up, even when everything was lost. "Rodriguez, send a response. Short range, tight beam." "What should I say, Captain?" Sarah thought for a moment. "Tell her to hold position. Help is coming." "Captain," Hayes said urgently, "we can't fight an entire Devourer fleet. We're just one ship, I know. But we can take a look." Sarah had been in the Navy for 15 years, and she had never backed down from a fight. The Retribution was a good ship with a good crew, and she was not about to let some machines kill aliens who had asked for help. "Set course for the Zephyros system. Maximum speed." "That will take us 18 hours, reported the navigator. "Then we better get started." The journey to alien space gave Sarah time to study everything human intelligence knew about the Devourers. It was not much, and none of it was encouraging. The machines fought in perfect formations, never breaking discipline, never showing mercy. They had weapons that could crack planets and shields that stopped every energy weapon fired at them. But as Sarah read the reports, she began to notice something interesting. The Devourers were perfect. Too perfect. They never made mistakes, never did anything unexpected. Never changed their tactics. "Rodriguez, pull up the tactical analysis of Devourer fleet movements." The data showed attack patterns that were exactly the same on every world. The machines always approached from the same angle, always targeted the same types of installations first, always moved in the same formations. "They're predictable," Sarah murmured. "Captain," Hayes asked, "look at this data. Every battle, same pattern. They have never faced an enemy that fights like we do." "How do we fight?" Sarah smiled, but it was not a nice smile. "Dirty." When they reached the edge of the Zephyros system, the sensors immediately detected the Devourer fleet. Hundreds of massive ships, each one the size of a city, spread out in a perfect search grid. "My God," whispered Rodriguez. "There are so many of them." "And they are all following the same search pattern," Sarah observed. "Rodriguez, can you find the alien fortress?" "Scanning." "There, Captain. Hidden in the asteroid field. I'm reading life signs, but very faint. They're still alive." "Good." Sarah studied the tactical display, watching the mechanical precision of the enemy fleet. "Time to see what these machines are made of." "Captain, we should observe first, gather intelligence." "No time." "Hayes, charge weapons. Rodriguez, record everything. Command is going to want to see this." The Retribution moved into the outer system, staying hidden among the asteroids. Sarah picked her target carefully. A lone Devourer ship that had separated from the main fleet to investigate a large asteroid. "Fire," she ordered. Nuclear missiles streaked across space, followed by railgun rounds moving at a significant portion of light speed. The Devourer ship's shields flared as the weapons hit, absorbing the damage exactly as human intelligence had predicted. But Sarah was not trying to destroy the ship. She was trying to learn. "Did you see that?" she asked Hayes. "The shields held, just like the report said." "No, look at how they responded." Sarah pointed to the tactical display. Perfect defensive formation exactly by the book. They're doing what they always do. The Devourer ship began to pursue them, calling for support from 2 nearby vessels. Sarah led them on a chase through the asteroid field, firing missiles and running away, always staying just out of reach. "Captain, what are we doing?" Hayes asked. "Teaching them bad habits." After an hour of cat and mouse, Sarah had learned everything she needed to know. The Devourers were incredibly advanced, but they thought like machines. They followed programs. They could not adapt to something they had never seen before, and they had never seen humans fight. "Rodriguez, send another message to the alien queen. Tell her we have arrived and we are going to help. But warn her that our methods might seem unusual." "What do you mean, Captain?" Sarah looked at the enemy fleet. Hundreds of perfect killing machines that had destroyed entire civilizations. Then she looked at her own ship, built by a species that had spent centuries learning how to kill each other in creative ways. "We're going to show them what happens when perfection meets chaos." The first phase of the battle was about to begin, and it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Devourers were about to learn that there were some enemies who did not follow the rules. Unfortunately for the machines, humans had never been very good at following rules anyway. "All hands. This is the captain," Sarah announced over the ship's speakers. "We are about to engage an enemy that has destroyed 12 worlds and killed billions of people. They think they are unbeatable because they are perfect." She paused, thinking about the desperate alien queen who had asked barbarians for help. "Let's show them what imperfect looks like." Admiral Marcus Cross had seen many strange things in his 30 years of military service, but Captain Chen's report was the strangest yet. Aliens calling for help, machines that ate planets, a single human ship facing an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. "How long until we reach the Zephyros system?" he asked his aide. 6 hours, Admiral. The 7th Expeditionary Fleet is ready for deployment." Marcus looked out the viewports of his flagship, the UES Vengeance, at the 50 ships that followed them into unknown space. They were good ships with good crews, but they had been built to fight other humans. Now they were heading into battle against machines that the rest of the galaxy feared. "Any word from Captain Chen?" "Last transmission was 3 hours ago. She reported that the aliens are still alive and she has been testing enemy capabilities." Marcus almost smiled. He had served with Sarah Chen before. When she said testing, it usually meant she was doing something that would either work brilliantly or get everyone killed. "Sir," called the communications officer. "Incoming transmission from Captain Chen. Put her through." Sarah's voice crackled over the speakers with the sound of alarms and weapons fire in the background. "Admiral, good to hear your voice. I hope you brought friends." 50 ships, Captain. What is your situation?" "I've been playing tag with the Devourers for 6 hours. They are exactly as dangerous as reported, but they have one major weakness." "Which is?" "They think like machines. Perfect formations, perfect tactics, perfect responses. They have never fought anyone crazy enough to ram fusion reactors into their command ships." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Please tell me you did not actually ram a fusion reactor into their ship." "Not yet, but I have been thinking about it. Admiral, these machines are beatable. They are too perfect. They cannot adapt to chaos. Understood. What do you recommend?" "Everything we have. Every dirty trick, every insane tactic, every weapon that makes other species uncomfortable. These machines have been fighting civilized enemies for too long." Marcus nodded. The human military had developed its tactics fighting other humans, and humans were never civilized when their lives were at stake. They used nuclear weapons, biological weapons, cyber warfare, and psychological operations that made alien species queasy. "All ships, this is Admiral Cross," he announced on the fleet frequency. "We are about to engage an enemy that has never fought humans before. You have permission to use any and all weapons in your arsenal. Rules of engagement are suspended." I repeat, rules of engagement are suspended. There was a moment of silence as the implications sank in. Then came the responses from 50 ship captains, and Marcus could hear the excitement in their voices. Human naval officers were trained to fight with one hand tied behind their backs, following rules designed to limit collateral damage and civilian casualties. Now the gloves were coming off. "Admiral," called the sensor operator, dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. "Enemy fleet detected bearing 27 Mark IV. All ships battle formation. Weapons free." The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like sharks smelling blood. The Devourers immediately detected them and began to form their own battle line, perfect and orderly and predictable. Marcus smiled. Perfect was exactly what he had hoped for. Signal the fleet. Operation Chaos. Execute. What followed was 15 minutes of the most insane space battle in galactic history. Human ships scattered in all directions, firing missiles and railgun rounds while broadcasting electronic warfare signals that would have violated every civilized war treaty ever written. The Devourers tried to respond with their perfect tactics, but Chaos had no tactics. Human ships dove through their formations, ramming smaller vessels, while larger ships deployed weapons that turned the machine's own programming against them. Direct hit on Devourer command ship, reported the tactical officer. Captain Morrison just fired his entire nuclear arsenal into their reactor core. What about Morrison's ship? He says he is having engine trouble and cannot change course. He is going to ram them. Marcus watched on the tactical display as the UES Defiant slammed into the massive Devourer vessel at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up space for thousands of kilometers. 17 crew on the Defiant, Marcus said quietly. They took a ship the size of a city with them, Admiral. It was the kind of trade that made sense to humans but horrified other species. 17 lives for thousands of machines. The Devourers had never fought an enemy willing to make that kind of sacrifice. Admiral, the aliens are transmitting. Queen Lyraleigh's voice came through the speakers, speaking words that had been translated from her language. Human ships, this is Queen Lyraleigh. We cannot believe what we are seeing. You are fighting for us, people you have never met. Tell her we will discuss payment later, Marcus replied. Right now we have machines to kill. The battle raged for 3 hours. Human ships used tactics that had been developed during Earth's bloodiest wars. Ramming attacks, suicide runs, cyber weapons that turned enemy systems against each other, and nuclear weapons deployed at point-blank range. The Devourers tried to adapt, but their perfect programming could not handle an enemy that fought without rules. They had been designed to face civilized opponents who valued their own lives and fought with honor. Humans valued their lives too, but they valued protecting others more. Admiral, enemy fleet is in retreat, called the sensor operator. Repeat, Devourer fleet is withdrawing. Marcus stared at the tactical display in amazement. The machines that had never retreated, never shown fear, never done anything but destroy were running away. Casualties? He asked. 23 ships lost or severely damaged. 4,000 crew dead or wounded. 4,000 humans had died for aliens they had never seen, for a cause they had learned about 6 hours ago. It was exactly the kind of thing that made other species call humans barbarians. It was also exactly the kind of thing that made Marcus proud to be human. Signal the remaining Devourer ships, he ordered. Tell them that this system is under human protection now. If they want to come back, they are welcome to try. The response came quickly. The entire enemy fleet jumped to hyperspace, fleeing toward the outer rim of the galaxy. Admiral, called the communications officer, Queen Lyraleigh is requesting permission to come aboard. Tell her she is welcome. And prepare a formal reception. She just saw humans at our worst, which means she also saw us at our best. As the human fleet formed up around the asteroid fortress where the last Zephyrians waited, Marcus thought about what they had accomplished. They had saved an alien species, defeated an enemy that had destroyed 12 worlds, and shown the galaxy that humans were more than just barbarians, but they were also still barbarians. And sometimes that was exactly what the universe needed. The war against the Devourers was just beginning. But today chaos had defeated perfection. Today, 50,000 aliens were alive because 17 humans had been willing to die for them. Today, the galaxy learned that sometimes salvation came from the most unlikely places. Queen Lyraleigh had never seen anything like the human ship. Where Zephyrian vessels were smooth and elegant, made of living crystal that grew in beautiful patterns, the UES Vengeance was all sharp angles and armor plating. It looked like it had been built for war because it had been. As she walked through the corridors with Admiral Cross, she noticed that everything was functional and sturdy. There was no decoration, no art, no beauty for its own sake, but there was something else. Every human they passed nodded respectfully to their admiral, and she could see the pride in their eyes. These people had just fought a battle that killed thousands of their own, and they were proud of it. Your ships are very different from ours, she said to Admiral Cross as they walked. I imagine so. We build them to fight, not to look pretty. But why do your people seem so happy? You lost many ships. Cross stopped walking and turned to face her. He was an older human with gray hair and scars on his face, and his eyes were tired but kind. Your Majesty, may I ask you something? Of course. How many of your people are alive right now? Lyrelay thought of the refugees crowded into Sanctuary's edge. About 50,000. And how many were alive 3 days ago? 50,000. Then we succeeded. Your people are still alive because my people were willing to die for them. That is worth celebrating. Lyrelay did not understand this logic, but she was beginning to see that humans thought very differently than other species. They seemed to value sacrifice for others more than their own safety. The meeting room was large and simple, with a table made of metal instead of crystal. Admiral Cross sat across from her, along with Captain Chen and several other officers. They all watched her with curious eyes as if she was an interesting puzzle they were trying to solve. Your Majesty, Cross began, we need to discuss what happens next. I assume you want payment for your help. We have crystal technology, star maps, scientific knowledge. Actually, we want to know about the Devourers. Everything you can tell us. This surprised her. Most species would have demanded territory or resources first. Why? Because they will be back, Captain Chen said. What we did here was just the first battle. They will return with more ships, better tactics. We need to be ready. But you defeated them easily. We surprised them, Cross corrected. Next time they will know what to expect. They will adapt. Lyrelay spent the next hour telling them everything the Zephyrians knew about the machines, how they had appeared from the edge of the galaxy, consuming everything in their path, how they learned from each battle, becoming stronger and more dangerous, how they had never retreated before today. 12 civilizations, Cross murmured when she finished, all gone. The Council says there is nothing that can be done. The Devourers are too powerful, too numerous. They have sealed off this entire sector and written it off as lost. The Council runs away from problems, Chen said with disgust. We solve them. But how? Even if you could defeat them again, there are thousands of their ships throughout the galaxy, and they are building more every day, using the resources from the worlds they have consumed. Cross leaned back in his chair, thinking, Your Majesty, I want to make you an offer. An alliance between our peoples. What kind of alliance? We provide military protection. You provide technology and scientific knowledge. Together we find a way to stop the Devourers permanently. Lyrelay was quiet for a long moment. An alliance with humans would change everything. The Council would call her people traitors for working with barbarians. Other species would avoid them. They would be outcasts from civilized society, but civilized society had already abandoned them. What do you want from us specifically? She asked. Your crystal technology is incredible, said Dr. Martinez, one of the human scientists. If we could combine it with our weapon systems, we could build ships that are both beautiful and deadly. And your people need a home, Cross added. We have colony worlds that could be adapted for Zephyrians. You would be safe there. In exchange for what? Help us understand the Devourers. Help us build better ships. Help us save the rest of the galaxy. Lyrelay looked around the room at the humans watching her. They had risked everything to save her people, asking for nothing in return. Now they were offering her a chance to fight back instead of just hiding. The Council will never forgive us for this alliance. The Council can go to hell, Chen said bluntly. They left you to die. Captain, Cross warned, but he was smiling slightly. It is true, Lyrelay said. They abandoned us when we needed them most. Why should we care what they think now? So you accept our offer? Lyrelay thought of her father, who had always said that a good queen protects her people no matter what. Hiding on human worlds would protect them, but fighting alongside humans might save millions of others. I accept, but I have conditions. Name them. My people will not be your servants or your slaves. We will be equal partners in this alliance. Agreed. And we will have a voice in all military decisions. Zephyrians have been fighting for our lives for months. We know things about the Devourers that you do not. Also agreed. Finally, when this war is over, my people will be free to choose their own future. If they want to stay with humans, they can. If they want to rebuild our worlds, you will help us. Cross extended his hand across the table. You have a deal, Your Majesty. Lyrelay looked at his outstretched hand, remembering that this was how humans sealed agreements. She reached out and grasped it, feeling the rough skin and calluses of someone who worked with his hands. Partners, she said. Partners. Over the following weeks, The alliance between humans and Zephyrians grew stronger. Human engineers worked with Zephyrian crystal growers to design new types of ships. Zephyrian scientists shared their knowledge of devourer technology, while human tacticians planned new strategies. The first joint ship was launched a month later, the UES-ZES Crystal Blade, a vessel that combined human weapons with Zephyrian beauty. It was fast, deadly, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. But the real change was in the people themselves. Human soldiers who had been taught to see aliens as potential enemies found themselves working alongside graceful beings who created art while planning military operations. Zephyrian refugees who had thought all other species were civilized learned that sometimes civilization was overrated. Admiral, Captain Chen reported during one of their daily briefings. Long-range scouts have detected devourer movement in the outer systems. They are massing for another attack. How long do we have? 2 weeks, maybe 3, Cross nodded. Signal the fleet. All ships to begin final preparations. Sir, the new joint crews are ready. Humans and Zephyrians working together on every ship. Good. The devourers think they know how humans fight. They have never seen humans and Zephyrians fight together. As the meeting ended, Cross looked out at the space around Sanctuary's edge, where human and Zephyrian ships patrolled side by side. The fortress itself had been transformed, its crystal walls now reinforced with human armor, its ancient weapons upgraded with modern technology. The devourers would return, probably with ships specifically designed to counter human tactics, but they would find something they had never faced before, an alliance between crystal and steel, between ancient wisdom and young fury, between the species that created beauty and the species that perfected war. Queen Lyra had called for help from barbarians, and the barbarians had answered. Now together, they would show the galaxy that sometimes the best hope for civilization came from the most uncivilized places. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the Devourers had appeared, the galaxy had reason to hope. And hope, as humans had learned long ago, was the most dangerous weapon of all.